So again, I want everyone to be very comfortable as we're going through this. Um, I'll do a little preamble, and then we'll just go straight into our next meditation. Um, and this one will go much faster than the last one. It will. It will. It will. But we won't need to because we're already. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for the next meditation, and remember what I'm saying about crystals and like the energy within crystals and where facets, like you can shine a light through one facet and it will reflect and like shoot beams through other facets. Think of time within the Akashic Records and connection with your past lives to be something like that. The past is not always the past because when you were in that life, you created an energy, and energy doesn't die, or you like. So, like, to give you a quick preamble there, a number of years ago, I was waiting to meet someone whom it was going to be our first meeting. I had before I started teaching all of this, I had an appointment with a medium, Carl Davies, who had just arrived in the area. He lives in St. Louis, and he was up here for just a few days at the CSE. And this was actually before I was really into meditation. I went to Hannah Papp's monthly group, I think. Might have even been before, yeah, it was before I started working with Hannah Papp. So all of this was like very new to me and very weird. And I have no idea why I even at the time, it was like $100 for a 1 hour session with a medium that I didn't know. And I didn't even know what a medium was. And, I was like, this is so ridiculous. I'm a single mom with a very expensive special needs child. Why am I spending my money on this? But I did. So I'm waiting to meet him, and I closed my eyes, and I was in this beautiful manicured, like, castle garden, like Versailles, or like some beautiful palace, and like the perfect garden, but it was manicured to look like a natural garden, even though you could tell it was like meticulously maintained. And there's this woman walking, and she's dressed sort of like a Jane Austen type outfit with a dress that's like tied under her bosom, hanging down, and she's got a shawl. And she had dark hair that had ringlets coming down. It was pulled back and it had ringlets coming down. And as she's walking past, she walked past me, like completely oblivious to me. And then she turned and she looked over her shoulder and she winked at me and kept walking. And I was like, I freaked out because at that point, I did not consider myself to be any kind of spiritual person, even because I didn't realize that the Akashic Records were talking with animal spirits or, shamans who live between dimensions was anything other than normal for everyone. Like I thought. Things we learn. It was this meeting with Carl that started my opening awareness that I had to like connect physical and spiritual and start sharing. So she winked at me and kept walking, and I was like, what? So I went in to meet him, and here he is, this like old African American fellow with like dreadlocks, and I said to him, I think I'm supposed to send a greeting to you. And I told him what just happened. He said, just a minute. And he went, oh yes, okay. And he talked to himself, and I said, what? And he went, And later, and of course, he gave me this very powerful reading, and I kept like wanting to talk to him. He's like, I don't. He's like, you don't understand. I'm giving you information. We're not supposed to have a discussion. You know, where he said, the more you talk, the less information I give you. So just, and you guys know I'm a chatterbox. So he's like, basically like, just shut up and listen. um, so it was, we've since become close. I consider him like a mentor of mine. Um, and well, I feel more close to him than he does me. But we definitely have a very strong connection. Um, and I later learned that in that life, he was my tutor. I was a lady in waiting in the French court, and he was my tutor, and he taught me like about art and philosophy and music and science and you know all of that. And he was the person that I turned to for all of my guidance. So, and this was our first time connecting again. And this is why, of all the mediums who are here all the time that I've never, you know, in all the psychic shops you walk past, I never had any interest until I saw CSE advertise him. And I was like, I have to. I'm like, what? Yes. So I mentioned this story because he and I connected because we had a past life connection. And in this life, he was fulfilling a role that in this life, he is not for me the same role that he was in that life. But through the role that he had in that past life and our physical proximity at this moment, at this time, this was not the first time he's been in this area, but certainly was the first time I felt compelled to meet him. Um, because of the role he had of mentoring, he was one who opened my gateway for this life to evolve as it did. And my past life was instrumental. Like, she and I have talked since then, and she's like, oh, yeah, I made that happen. So she died. Like, she was alive. She died. Me in the past life.
The one that winked at
The one that winked at me. She was alive. She died, yet she's the one who arranged. This was not part of our soul contract to meet. She meddled and arranged for that to happen so that in this life, this part of my life could open in a way that had been trying to open but had not been succeeding. Yes, exactly. She's like, just exactly, exactly. And then sometime later, um, she showed me her life. I was dreaming, and in my dream state, she showed me her life. Um, when I was meeting with Carl, he expressed to me some about her life, but it was only about the part of her life he knew from when he and she knew each other, and he did not know the entirety of her life. He just knew a small sliver of it. That she was very haughty, and she was a very powerful woman, and she would use men and toss them away, and she never had love, not true love in her life. She kept her heart cold and just really cared about political power and power over people. But she was like really smart and very good at seeing the big picture of things. And so she did a great deal of political advising, even though she was a woman, and she had to be really careful on how she did that. But she spent her whole life being very strong, very powerful, but never, and she had women who were close in her life, but her heart was closed. Um, and when Carl described that to me, I saw all of it. But then, like a year later in a dream, and she would come and go in my current life in the back of my mind. A year later, she showed me, you need to see the whole story. And it was like a year and a half later. She showed me how when she was a young woman, like in her mid-teens, and she's running through the woods so excited because she's going to have a little covert meeting with her true love. And it was all innocent, like nothing bad happened, but she would meet her true love. And she lived on one estate, he lived on another, and they're both of proper rank. And they would meet so that they could hold hands and feel a little kiss. And she was like, oh, can you believe I did that? She was like so innocent and just like in the full blush of love. And they were to be married without question. It was arranged that they were to be married. Like, could you imagine anything better? And then there was some skirmish with the English, and he was going to go and be in part of the ship that was going to go, and he's like, "Don't worry, I'll be back real soon. Don't worry." And she was crying, "Don't leave, don't like you," and everything. She was like, "Oh, you're just a girl. Don't worry, I'll be back." And he took off, and she never saw him again. The ship was sunk. He died. They didn't even get his body, and that was when her heart crystalled over. And it wasn't even like it turned cold or anything. She just like covered it in a layer of crystal, like clear crystal. And that's when she changed so that no one could ever do this to her again. Um, so, and she had no regrets about her life. She said it was a rough time for women back then. And she did really well for herself, but she definitely recommends that later lives, she recommends pursue love. Go ahead and pursue love. Don't close yourself to love. But she said, in that time, in that day, if I had opened myself to love, I would not have lived the life I lived. And I'm glad I lived the life I lived. But she said, it's very easy to close yourself to love. Don't. Keep yourself open. So that's where like we connect with our past lives. It's not a linear experience. It's multifaceted. And rather than trying to understand it, just go with the experience. And after you have enough experiences, layers of logic will start revealing themselves. Um, so don't worry about the logic or comprehension of it until you reach the point where you don't need to worry and you don't care. That's when the understanding starts coming in. Okay, so today we're going to go to our spirit mountain. Every single person has a spirit mountain. It's a mountain that's for you. And for some people, it may be an Arctic or a tropical mountain. For me, it's like a eternal late spring in Montana, like, or Wyoming, or somewhere where like the mountains are tall and covered with meadows and trees. So all the mountains that I show are similar to my spirit mountain. When we go into meditation, your mountain will reveal itself to you. Um, I do a lot of meditations where we go on Spirit Mountain. You've been on some, I'm sure, where we go and you're in the woods, and or you go and you're in a pasture, or you go um, to the top of the mountain where the tree of life grows. And this is what we're going to do today. So as we go through our journey, I'll make mention of things that you'll see in the distance, just so future visits to Spirit Mountain, um, which may even be on your own, you're comfortable exploring those terrains. But we're going to go up to the top of Spirit Mountain where the tree of life is growing. Um, and the tree of life is what connects us with Gaia, with nature energy, and spirit energy. Like you remember, right here, when we look at the tree is physically in place, the roots are in earth, and the branches and leaves are in sky. Um, when we tap into our personal tree of life, this is very similar to the Akashic library because the tree is connected to all levels of physical and etheric. So this is from Yep. Yes. So we're going to go to Spirit Mountain, and this is where I just went nuts with mountain views, because when you redo this meditation and you look at the PowerPoint, I want you to be able to gaze on a picture and kind of dive in. And we'll look at the vista. We'll go to the top of Spirit Mountain. So we're going to start in a meadow and work our way up to the top, a little quicker than the 30 steps that we did before. From the top, when you look out at the vista will be of all your previous lives. When you look out on your previous lives, it's always it's whichever life is most relevant to your current life is the one that will be closest. So as you gaze out, and you may do that great thing where you're standing on top of the mountain, but you're also kind of flying over and seeing. So, allow your sense of what you see to fill you with wonder, and don't think about how am I doing this, because it just will do. You'll see that, like, you'll see a previous life, and you're like, oh yeah, there's the farm I lived on. But when you look at it, you can also see, like, when you look at that farm had a whole country around it, and you can see all of that. But right next to it will be the city brownstone that you were at in a different life. So the sense of space will be a little bit ebbing and flowing. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so the lives that are the closer to you are the ones that are more impacting your current life. And one may be primitive, and one may be like from 100 years ago, high society, and the one next to it may be Cro-Magnon. They may be from other parts of the world. That's okay. And then you'll look at your tree of life at the top of your spirit mountain, and each person has a tree that resonates with where you're at in your life right now and what you need your tree of life to be at the moment. So it might be massive, it might be a sapling. It might be my tree of life generally has these vines growing up it, and all these flowers and fruits, like 20 different trees worth of quality flowers and fruits in one tree, and like roses and vines growing up it. And if you look up in the branches, you see fairies and birds and talking chipmunks. And it's very magical. So it can be whatever you want it to be, even like a primordial kind of tree. At the base of your tree, there will be a door, and that will be the entrance to the Akashic Records. So while we're at the top of the mountain and we have gazed upon this beautiful vista, we will invite any of your past lives who wish to join you for a picnic. And this picnic can be, a blanket on the ground and sandwiches, or it can be a formal banquet. Whatever picnic, like, don't try to manage anything, just let it all happen. Whatever picnic you have. It may even have bears or animals, The landscape around you may change because you're having past lives with you on a picnic. It may create a separate environment around you. You may find yourself, each of you, dressed in the time of when you were, or everyone may be dressed modern, or you all may slip into a different timeline. You may find yourself even looking a little different from how you expect to look, because you might be seeing yourself through their eyes to you. Or you may be resonating so strongly with one of your past lives that you find yourself physically looking a little more like you would if you were with yourself in the past life. So we kind of, or some people find that they're having like a fairy garden or like a children's magical tea party. So just, yeah, whatever happens will happen. So your tree of life It's special to you for and all of your lives because this is truly a place where all energy connects. We talked about the Hora line connects us to spirit and to physical. Well, trees are the same. You have spirit above, physical below, and it's all energy, and it all runs through your tree, and just as it all runs through you. Um, I love those pictures. They're so pretty. Yeah. Um, so we'll each enter our tree of life, and as you see, many people like to put pictures of little doors. Invite if you want. You can like at that point say goodbye to your past lives and say, okay, see you all another time and go in on your own, or you are welcome to invite whoever wishes to come in with you. You may find, even if you say to them, oh, you all stay here, goodbye, one of them will walk in with you anyway. You have no control over this and don't even try. You may have all of them will walk in with you because they want to wish you well into the book. Um, or you may find that a few of them will go in with you and they start browsing books. You know. Uh,
Is it their spirit doing that, or it's just his thoughts? Or just they're still living
um, it depends on how your life ended. Like if your life ended traumatically and you're still caught in the pain of the ending, that may still be in that life. So even though your soul and your higher self went on, a part of you stayed caught in the trauma. And you remember when I was saying about all the blackness I was healing? Mm-hmm. A lot of those were lives that ended very traumatically and they're still like stuck in that place. So yeah, so that's why like when you hear about a ghost and a soul that has not moved on, our higher self is always up there. So it's just a portion of the soul that did not move on, not the total of the soul. But you still want all of it to move on. Or it could be that that's just the resonance that they still fit in, remembering that time is not linear, so you can sort of hop through your different lives. I went back to a past life from about, I guess it was about 2,300 years ago, 2250, they say, 2150, thanks, 2150, where I had a really just an awful life. It was just from literally the day I was born till the day I died, a horrible, tragic, painful death. It was just every day filled with pain and horror and abuse. So I went back and met with this person and we did an entire healing and I showed him like all the amazing lives he's lived since and I said we're all from you and it was like so healing for him and he didn't have a name like his whole life he was never given a name so I let him choose a name and yeah slaves were not always well treated surprise surprise and so we met. I didn't know where we were going to meet but we ended up meeting like by a sacred fire in like a it felt like it was a cave, but it was also like we were in a protected pocket between time and space. Um, and the two of us, by meeting there, and he was able to share what his regrets were, and I was able to share with him all the joys that have been created from his existence and his understanding, that there was more than just what he had and claiming his name and claiming himself. Um, he pops in my life a lot now because he's just so happy. He's like, so look at this. And so, yeah, again, like, don't even worry about how. um, yeah. So, and you were talking about Alice in Wonderland. So, now that you've made the connection of Spirit Mountain and your Tree of Life and the Akashic Records, I find this one much easier to go in and out of with minimal effort than the traditional Akashic Records because it's an Akashic library that's in nature. And it's very easy for us humans who are physical to connect with a natural entry portal. But I will do that later. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can find the Tree of Life other places. Sometimes it just pops up because that's where it needs to be, but you will always be able to find it at the top of Spirit Mountain. Um, all right. So, that's a good one too. There we go. That's a good one for the meditation. All right.